the physics of divine unity, God, quantum mechanics, and notions of good and evil. Part 1. The Single Observer. Introduction. Surrender and the nature of reality. Many of our internal struggles with God are grounded in the notion of surrender, or the giving up of our free will to some greater divine plan. A lifetime of individual lived experience within the self-obsessed culture of our modern world has convinced us that free will is fundamentally more sacred than feeling beholden to rigid frameworks derived from the distant and often unrelatable events of ancient Mesopotamia. At the same time, we have unprecedented access to global news of unspeakable war and violence and suffering from disease and natural disasters, and have very understandable questions about the core ethics of a God who would include this in his plan. What if God is merely the truth that we are all one interconnected entity, and that our perception of separateness is only an illusion? It would then be the acceptance of this truth that we are surrendering to when we think of blind faith. This unblocks the concept of surrender, allowing a reframing of the giving up of free will. It allows us to accept that the surrender is merely about finally accepting the truth in our deepest hearts, that we are all one universal humanity, interconnected and indivisible, that if any plan exists, it is a plan of our own making, that all joy and all suffering is ultimately felt by all humanity. This truth forces us to explore the profound paradox at the heart of our existence, the nature of consciousness, and reality itself. Our perception of reality as separate individual observers experiencing distinct events is an illusion, a complex and convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. The truth is far simpler and yet more extraordinary. There is only one observer, one consciousness, experiencing itself through countless temporal experiments in an infinite dance of probability and possibility. The illusion of matter. Watch the donut, not the whole. This simple wisdom from American folk singer Burl Ives leads us to a profound insight about the nature of reality. Consider, what exactly is a donut hole? It's not truly a thing at all, but rather an absence defined entirely by what surrounds it. The hole exists only because we observe the donut's form and declare, "There is a hole here." Yet this mental construct feels as real to us as the donut itself. This reveals a deeper truth about how we perceive reality. Just as we grant existence to a donut hole through our observation of the form around it, we similarly construct our entire perception of solid matter through observation. The donut's substance, what we think of as its physical reality, is itself mostly empty space, a dance of quantum particles held in patterns that our minds interpret as solid form. Modern physics has revealed that at the quantum level, there is no fundamental difference between the empty hole and the solid donut. Both are expressions of probability waves that collapse into apparent solidity only when observed. Like the whole that exists purely through our recognition of the form around it, all matter emerges through observation. The true nature of reality. Imagine a powerful new interactive game platform which can create fully immersive worlds of three-dimensional gameplay. A complex, interactive, full surround and haptic sensory environment. The effect is achieved by placing the player inside a hollow blob of high-tech smart mesh material which can constantly change shape to form complex objects around them. The game engine can deliver up any shapes and colors and experiences the designers can think of. These worlds are rendered in 3 dimensions around the player and the player can interact with them, providing a truly immersive first-person perspective of gameplay. As the player moves around and explores, the virtual world they are engaging with is instantly created by the game. If the player is walking through a forest, the game world continually renders trees for them to move through. If the player turns and walks in a different direction, new and different trees digitally appear. Of course, there would be nothing actually behind these worlds of shapes and colors. The game's smart mesh is just forming realistic and familiar three-dimensional forms. The immersive phenomenon only works for the player inside. The illusion itself is the perception of immersion, while actually only ever seeing a personally rendered first-person perspective of the world they believe they are immersed in. In truth, complex shapes formed around the player, such as a tree, would just be a warren of hollow, tree-shaped spaces to anyone on the outside. It is the Neo view of the Matrix, the shape of matter without form. This is how all matter, or more accurately, the illusion of matter, and everything we perceive as reality is created. Through a direct transaction between the observer, our player, and the web of light interconnecting our universe, the interactive game. The web acts as a framework of possibility, the fabric of the universe itself. Until observed, there is no tea in your cup, no muscles in your hand holding the cup, no house around you, and no trees and landscape outside and beyond. The space filling those shapes does not yet exist until you observe them. Deep down, within the earth, where there are no observers, no matter can exist. There can be no form, no mass, no heat, no gravity. When we drill our deepest holes or make seismic measurements, we are observing this inner form, giving it mass, and thus making it real. Matter pops into existence for us, the observer, at the exact moment of observation. We create the perception of matter existing at the same moment we observe it. This understanding reveals the profound nature of matter itself. The forms we perceive as reality are created through our observation, and our perception of a world filled with solid, separate objects is part of the illusion. If quantum physics has forced us to question our macro-Newtonian thinking about matter, going so far as proposing that a world of permanent solid matter itself may be an illusion, it certainly hasn't provided us with a clear consensus as to how this happens. This forms the foundation of the three principles of matter described in this paper. Light connects all matter. No matter can exist before it is observed. Observation requires light. The nature of light. Look up at the night sky. We can see thousands of stars, each sending photons in all directions across space. If we could trace the path of every photon, we would see an incredible web of light, beams crossing and recrossing, connecting every star to every other star, every planet to every other planet. A cosmic mesh of light binding all celestial objects together in space. This observable web of light gives us a glimpse into a profound truth about our universe. Everything is connected through fields of energy. We use the term light in this paper to mean both the visible light we can observe, photons, as well as the underlying quantum fields through which wave functions collapse into matter. These fields are the invisible quantum energy that pervades all of space, enabling the very existence of the universe itself. We also use the term light because one of the easiest ways to witness the relationship between energy and matter in action is through photons. A photon exhibits both wave-like and particle-like behavior, but how we observe it determines which properties manifest. When unobserved, it exists as a wave of probability within the electromagnetic field. Upon measurement, its wave function collapses into a definite state, appearing as a particle, visible light for us to witness. This demonstrates how reality manifests from fields through the act of observation. Einstein's E equals mc squared further supports this principle. Matter and energy are interchangeable, two expressions of the same underlying reality. Just as we can see photons and can imagine them creating a web of visible light between stars, these quantum fields create an invisible mesh connecting all matter in the universe. This mesh functions like a vast neural network with connections in constant flux, building, dying, rebuilding, strengthening. This web permeates the universe and the Earth and all its forms and inhabitants, connecting us to every corner of existence. This cosmic mesh isn't static, but is dynamic and responsive. Like our brain's neural pathways firing millions of times per second, these universal connections are in perpetual states of activity. When we observe or interact with matter, we're engaging with this living network. The web doesn't just connect objects, it is the very medium through which existence manifests.